$506.86. Discussion. Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Geiger.
Yes.
Gibson.
Yes.
Jackson absent. Parker.
Yes.
Smelker.
Yes.
Connor.
Yes.
Wayne.
Yes, the item is approved.
Madam Chair, I move for the adoption of Resolution 1917, a resolution pledging the full faith and credit of the County of Berry within constitutional limitations for the payment of a 2019 drain note of the Watson Drain.
Support.
Motion by Geiger, support by Gibson, for the adoption of Resolution number 19-17, resolution pledging the full faith and credit of the County of Berry within constitutional limitations for the payment of the 2019 A drain note of the Watson Drain. Discussion.
Are you gonna
Do we need to,
have them say anything?
yeah, if we could have the drain commissioner and his entourage.
They're all volunteer, right?
Yeah. Berry County Drain Commissioner Jim Dull. I've got Nick DeSempler and Brian Sunsi from ENG. They're the engineering company that's been doing the Watson project. And Doug Kelly, our legal counsel, to make sure we do everything legal. We borrowed back, I believe it was first part of June, $400,000 from what was at that time Hastings City Bank. Now it's High Point. And we wanted to renegotiate that note for $1.4 million instead of $400,000. And they asked us to come to the county commissioners to get full faith and credit. We've got a lot of things done on this project. The DEQ requirements have been probably above and beyond what we anticipated, but that's okay. We built a retention pond that we've been putting water into on Darrell Jones's. We've actually taken, at one point we had the lake down 12 inches from the highest point it was this summer. It bumped up 1 inch. We've lost 1 inch of ground in the last month because of all the rain. So this is the project we're doing, and we just need some more money to keep going. Any questions? I'm going to throw these guys under the bus.
Questions for the drain commissioner, Vivian?
So I guess some of my first questions are, is 1.4 going to cover the whole thing, or is that just to get you by until you are
That
closer
gets us
to
by.
the end?
That gets us by to be able to bid a project for construction and go out for,
Bids.
yeah, bids.
Can I just sort of address a couple things real quick? The borrowing was, just to correct, the original borrowing was June of last year. So we're looking to get some additional funds to continue through the project. Full faith and credit of the county will allow us to market the securities better and to get a lower interest rate at a substantial savings to the landowners. And these will be repaid, any borrowings that we do, through special assessments to the landowners, to the state of Michigan for the benefit of roads, to the townships for public health benefit, and to the county for the benefit of roads as well. So it's part of the overall project. There will be ultimately borrowing at the end, and it will be assessed across the land, probably over a period of 20 years. I don't know for sure, but we're going to make it as affordable as possible for the landowners.
Dan?
But this does not cover the original $500,000 for Crooked Lake.
No, this is this 1.4 is in addition to 500,000.
But it does absorb the 400,000.
Yes, renegotiating the note, the 400,000 is rolled into that.
And the people have agreed that this is what they want to have done in your meetings?
They are still asking that we get this water down, yes. I mean, that's,
And
we had,
they understand what the assessment cost will be?
yeah, that'd be a better way.
This is a very common practice throughout the state, that when you start a drain project, once there's a determination of necessity, the need for the project continues to be designed. At the end of the project, the people that get assessed have the opportunity to come in and discuss their assessment or argue in favor that they want to pay less. They could argue they want to pay more. But in the end, there's a number, and it's spread across all the land. You're always going to have some people that don't want it. You're going to have some people that do want it. That happens in every single project that I've ever worked on.
Right.
Over 30, well, not quite, almost 30 years. So to suggest that you would take a poll is probably not what the way I would characterize it, because there's once it's found necessary and convenient and conducive to the public health convenience and welfare, then you proceed with the project, and that's what we're doing. It's not a small undertaking, but I think we're making progress, and it's coming in about as expected, I would say.
The concern I have is it's a short-term solution.
Yep.
It isn't?
Yes and no. A lot of the stuff that we've done, like the detention pond and the permit that we just filed with the DEQ 3 weeks ago for our emergency pumping to take it to the north, they're all sections that will be part of the long-term solution. And as for your question with the people, we did hold a public hearing, or not, I'm sorry, not a public hearing, a public informational meeting in June, and a lot of people were there saying, we didn't hear anybody saying, wait a minute, stop this project. We heard a lot of people that said, hey, why ain't it done yet? Come on, let's get going. So that was down at the gymnasium down to Delton School.
When are we going to start looking at a long-term solution that would take us to Kalamazoo River?
We are right now. That's the permit that was submitted to the state. It has what we would call short-term, like temporary things in place, but that was basically built into the permit to be somewhat redundant so that the state doesn't think we're just going to do this and walk away. That's probably their biggest concern.
Sure.
Because Jim will probably take a lot of heat, but we'll get the water down 2-3 feet, and everyone's gonna be like, okay, we're done. And we're gonna say, no, we're not. We have to still do these other pieces. And so part of that is just an assurance to them that this isn't going to be the last thing. It has everything we're using on it, we'll use for the final. So we basically laid out like a 3-step process, like a permit process to go through them 3 different times. And this would be the first thing. We just need to get the water down to a manageable level to be able to do what we want to long term. We can't deal with the water up where it is now and take that down. It needs to get down to a more manageable level where it's not up above into people's homes still, and then we can deal with it. And that's all we're trying to do, and we're just trying to move it in waterways to elevations that it gets to every year in those lakes to the north.
Has there been an estimated cost on the permanent solution then?
No.
No, okay.
No.
So it's nothing you can roll this into that at that time?
Yeah, I mean, everything that's being done now, like we're using the property that we purchased off of Delton Road. We're currently have verbal acceptance on a property off of Pine Lake Road there. And so everything that will be used in this short term will be used as part of the long-term solution. We want to leave this in place as a backup mechanism in the future. So, I mean, this happens all the time. The project I did like this in Allegan County, everyone wanted to stop after year 3 and 4 because we had a drought, and then years 4, 5 and 6, it was up again, and they were screaming at me, "Why don't you have this built yet?" So, we proceed forward, and we get the solution, and we move to construction, and that process isn't going to be deterred by if people say, "Oh, we don't want it." It's going to be a problem eventually, no matter what. Again.
Any other questions from commissioners?
One other thing to add, like the piezometers and all that good stuff that we got south of the lake are all part of the long term, trying to figure out. The DEQ required that we figure out where the water underground actually goes, which is not a simple thing to do. So we got piezometers, and Brian and Nick have been working with the hydrogeologists, figuring out which way the water goes and how fast it gets there and all that good stuff for the long term to the south. But like Brian said, the portion we'd planned all along, the part to the north will be, if we build something to the south and we get one of them freak years, that we still have a secondary option to take water north as an emergency situation. So we want to cover all our bases so nobody gets flooded out again. We don't want to go here again.
Commissioner Connor?
David's not here, and certainly his district is a little bit different than my district. I have a handful of people who've contacted me about the cost, that they don't like it. First, we went through a bunch of questions on, aren't I one of Jim's keepers? And I said, no, I'm not. So we went through a lot of protocol on what the law says, what the drain code says, and everything like that. And then they kind of understood that once they understood the process. So, but I still have more people who are crying to get it fixed. Get it fixed, get it fixed, get it fixed. That's where the majority of the people are. Like I said, I do have a few that are questioning it, but a handful. Not that they're not important, I understand that, but I mean, they need to get this fixed. Because it is gonna happen again if we, like Brian said, if we get a drought 3 or 4 years and they go, oh, well, it's not a problem now, but it will be again. I mean, even when we started it, the old timers said, yep, we could have told you this was gonna happen. So,
you're in a tough spot, and I know you've probably thought about this a long time, so you're going to be voting yes on this?
yes,
Okay.
so, but I mean, we can't just walk away because
Can't.
if we don't have the money, I mean, the people will suffer.
Mm-hmm.
So, I did have one question on the appendix.
Okay.
That's probably for Doug. So, on the note of the terms, the interest rate
I'll
was.
do my best.
The interest rate was left off, and I assume that that's because it varies day to day.
It's going to be 2.41 with the full faith and credit.
Oh, okay.
And whether we get full faith and credit or not, we will borrow. It's just going to be at a higher interest rate. So it would be unfortunate. So.
One other quick thing to what Vivian was getting kickback from people. A lot of people don't understand the way the drain code is written. It's not a majority rule thing. It's if there's a problem and we receive a petition and the Board of Determination determines that there are issues, we are at that point contracted to get all the way to the end. We can't say halfway through, well, we don't feel like doing it, it's Wednesday. So, I mean, that's one of the tough things in a country that's basically runs on a majority vote. The drain code's one of them unusual things that you can have 100 people impacted, or 100 people that don't want it and one that does, relatively, and the project has to be done. So,
And cost isn't a factor in the initial determination whether to proceed or not.
And what other options would you have if you didn't go this route to secure the money to fix it? What other route would you have?
we can still go to High Point and get the money, but like Doug said, the interest rates are going to be higher because if they put it out for sale, people want to double down on guaranteeing that the costs are going to be covered when it's all said and done.
So if we didn't give our full faith and credit, you'd be getting almost double on your interest rate? On the
It's hard to
note?
say what they would, well, right in the thing, it says not to exceed 4.5, but with full faith and credit, we know we can get 2.34?
2.41.
So,
And that additional interest would be monumental over 20 years.
oh, yeah,
Passed
yeah.
on to the taxpayers.
Yes.
I can't justify, if I voted no, I couldn't justify it. Say, well, why didn't you help out on the taxes? This is the county's government, or this is the
Yeah.
people's government, and it's their full faith and
That
credit.
that would just increase the assessment that they would have to pay.
Correct.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to know.
Yep.
Any more questions for the Drain Commissioner? Alrighty. Hearing none, the question before the committee or the board, is to adoption of Resolution 1917, resolution pledging the full faith and credit of the County of Berry within constitutional limits for the payment of a 2019 drain note of the Watson Drain. Roll call, please.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson absent, Parker,
Yes.
Smelker,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yes.
Wayne.
Yes. The item is approved.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Madam Chair, I move for the adoption of Resolution 1919, a resolution to honor Nashville Police Chief Chris Koster.
Did we get out of order in our,
Yeah, I just threw it up there above the,
okay.
um,
And do we have
interviews.
the right number on the top of the
yes,
resolution?
Luella put that on there.
Okay, we can fix it later if it's not right.
Yeah.
I'll second that if, I don't believe anyone has.
Nope,
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
nope,
And I did read it before.
that's fine. You seconded it, John?
No, Vivian.
Oh, okay. Sorry for the confusion. So the question before the board is for the adoption of Resolution 1919, the resolution honoring to honor Nashville Police Officer Chris Koster. Discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will call the roll.
Jackson absent. Parker,
Yes.
Smelker,
Yes.
Connor,
Yes.
Geiger,
Yes.
Yes.
Wade.
Yes, the item is approved.
Madam Chair, the next item under items for consideration is an interview. So I don't have a motion.
All right, let me see if I can find one. To recommend to the Board of Commissioners approval to appoint an individual to serve on the Health Department and Human Services Board for a 3-year term beginning November 1st, 2019, expiring on October 31st, 2020.
I would make that motion. Yeah, I make that motion.
Is there a second?
Sure. Second.
So the last interview that we need to do to consider filling this position is for, where did I put mine?
Karen.
Karen.
Is for Karen Rupel. Are you here? Did we bore you to death? I'm so sorry. Come on up and introduce yourself. We don't typically make our interviewees stand at the podium, but today we have a little bit different format, so.
Okay, well, lucky me.
Thank you. Take a few minutes, introduce yourselves. We will ask you a few questions later and try to introduce ourselves.
Okay, I'm Karen Rupel. I live here in Hastings, and I was approached to apply for this position by Dave McIntyre, who is stepping down after having served here for a few years. We've had several conversations about this, and I pointed out to him the reasons why you should not consider me for this position, is that I have no experience in health and human services, and we retired last year, and we're going on vacations. But the reasons you might want to consider me for this position is that I do have experience at county and state level project management. I understand a little bit how state government works, how county government works. My experience has been in education, though, so not in this field in health and human services, which actually could be a benefit because I have no agenda. I'll be a blank slate. I don't have any loved ones in any facilities here in Berry County, and can be pretty objective, I believe. My experience has been in education, as I said, as an elementary teacher, and then I moved to Kent ISD. I was in Grand Rapids at the time, and there was a consultant managing different projects for the county. And then I moved into the Michigan Department of Education, and there I managed the statewide system of support, which I got to visit Carrie when she first started here because Hastings Public Schools had a school identified as a focus school. And so my work was managing the Title I federal funds that supported interventions in low-performing schools. And as such, you know, that can be very political and very emotional for people, and I was able to be successful in that for 7 years. So I do bring some experience that I believe would be beneficial to a board, but I don't bring content knowledge to this board. So what might you like to ask me?
Thank you, ma'am. We'll start with Commissioner Gibson since he's on that board.
Okay.
At this time.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Connor?
Thank you. So thank you for your application. I appreciate that. I wanted to ask you about your traveling because you have a question down here about perhaps having meetings, attending meetings
Virtually.
virtually. So
That, and
let me ask you a different question.
yes,
Okay, so a vacation, like going away for 2 weeks, but do you anticipate like living in the warmer climate for the winter?
no, I do not.
Okay.
But yes, going on vacations.
So going on vacations.
Yes, my husband and I both retired last year, and he seems to be committed to being able to draw down all of our retirement savings, so we have nothing left for the kids.
That doesn't sound too bad.
Yes, that's what's going on,
As
so.
my daughter said, you made all that money, you spend it the way you want to. So, but I wanted to ask that because the board does meet once a month, so I mean, it's not like, you know, you couldn't take a 2-week vacation or maybe miss one meeting. That's not the issue, but the issue I wondered was about if you were away.
And I would want to be considerate of the meetings and knowing them ahead of time, but also knowing that we also have travels planned already through next year.
All right, that was my question.
Commissioner Geiger?
How long have you lived in Berry County?
15 years.
Okay.
And I also want to say, I think I'm considered a newcomer because you people really like one another a lot. And it's kind of hard when we moved in at a time when our kids were all grown. And without the kids to integrate you into the community, it's difficult. So I can say that I'm active in volunteering in my church, but I really haven't had a lot of opportunity to be involved anywhere else in the county.
Have you worked in project management at all or overseen staff and compliance?
Yes.
Perform-
Title I, think of Title I.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I have. I managed, a project that was statewide.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Smoker?
I don't know if you know this or not, but we have 3 excellent candidates for this job.
Yes, I do know that.
If it just so happens you don't get this, would you be interested in other committees? Possible.
Yes, that certainly is a possibility, yes.
Thank you very much.
And I think that when Dave approached me, he was very concerned that there might not be anybody that might want to volunteer for this. And so, yes, absolutely. I don't have my heart set on this. I'm willing to serve, and I'd be honored to be chosen, but I won't cry.
Thank you.
Commissioner Parker?
I don't have any other questions. Thanks for your consideration in applying.
Thank you.
Appreciate that.
Thank you, ma'am. Okay, we have 3 very qualified individuals for this position.
I wasn't here for
You were not.
a couple of those interviews, so
You-
I'm
you
going to
didn't
kind of
watch
rely
them?
on you people.
Oh. Does anyone have any recommendations?
Okay, go ahead.
I thought they all interviewed real well. I liked June's interview from last week.
Yeah, they were all good candidates. I wondered how you were going to fill it, just by a motion or
I would entertain a motion.
elimination or?
I would entertain a motion if someone had one to recommend, and then we could vote on it. It's not always easy. We've had 3 interview for positions before, and someone made a motion, there was support, and we voted. And that's kind of where we are now.
I liked Andrew because I thought he had a good sense of business, and that board is really about the business.
Yeah, all 3 applicants are good, and they need. We have a place for them to serve. Andrew's a friend of mine, and I know how capable he is, but I think his skills might be better used on a different board, specifically the Charlton Park Board. Last week, we pulled all of the vacancies on the different boards, and putting people in the right spot helps us all. So with that, I would make a motion to appoint June Berdant to serve on the Department of Health and Human Services Board for a 3-year term beginning on November 1st, 2019, and expiring October 31st, 2022.
It's been moved and supported to appoint June Barrett, moved by Geiger, support by Gibson, to serve on the Department of Health and Human Services Board for a 3-year term beginning on November 1st, expiring on October 31st, 2022. Discussion.
I would also like to offer an amendment to my motion to add, and to allow the applications of other candidates to be submitted for other board openings. I'd like it to have a conversation with the candidates that we don't appoint about current openings and just use their paperwork for the next time we have interviews.
I think we can do that without tacking it to this motion. Because that seems a little bit like a pork barrel attachment to this motion. We're just making an appointment to this board, not changing our policy on appointments.
I like pork.
I have a freezer full.
Yes.
But I
I
just
thought that
think
was going to fly with the farmer.
need to let this, I think we just need to let this appointment move through without attaching anything to it.
Well, then I withdraw my motion.
Thank you, sir. Any discussion on?
Amendment.
I really liked Andrew better. I mean, the other candidate, the nominee, I felt she had a lot to offer and stuff, but I didn't really see her as the same quality for business management as Andrew.
Any other discussion? Commissioner Parker?
I think we should get a hold of Karen right after the meeting about something else then, if she's not. But,
Did you hear that? Don't leave too quick.
got a good sense of humor, and I think we always need that.
We kind of do sometimes. Any further discussion?
I kind of agree with Vivian on this one. I prefer Andrew, but we got good candidates.
We do.
If I may, so I've thought a lot about this. Got to look at the current situation. Thornapple Manor is one of the best-run nursing homes in Michigan, and we have, with the current DHS board, done a great job keeping it that way. The previous board members did not have Andrew's experience in finance. So we're not losing any financial knowledge or expertise. June has a lot of experience in DHS and brings a different perspective. And also, Andrew, with his financial background, I'm hoping if he applies and is appointed to the Charlton Park Board, could help increase that endowment.
Well, not just financial, I mean, business sense.
Right.
The whole, he mentioned about delegating and decision-making and things like that. I was impressed with.
Any further discussion? Sorry about that. Then the question before the committee is to recommend to the board, we are the Board of Commissioners, is to approve appointment of June Barrett to the Department of Health and Human Services Board for a 3-year term beginning November 1st of 2019 and expiring on October 31st, 2022. The clerk will call the roll.
Parker,
Yes.
Smoker,
No.
Connor,
No,
Geiger,
Yes.
Gibson,
Yes.
Jackson absent, Wayne,
Yes. The appointment is approved.
Unfinished business.
Unfinished business. We don't have anything on my list. New business. Is there any new business that needs to come before this committee, this board? County Administrator's Report.
I'm all set, thank you.
County Chairperson's Report. Oh, that's me. made it to Maple Grove Township. Maple Grove Township has decided to follow the path led by Nashville and Castleton Township and prohibit the growth and sale of recreational marijuana within its boundaries. They voted, they had a very large turnout, considering Maple Grove Township usually only has the officers and me, and maybe one other citizen there, excluding the press. They probably had 40 people in attendance. They took a month to consider it. They had a hearing a month ago and had a lot of support, and everyone who came out to this meeting was against. And when they looked at how their voters decided the issue last year, it was a majority against, but not a huge majority. They just decided it wasn't the right time for their township to allow recreational marijuana sales and growth. So that's their big issue. Assyria Township was last night, just working on regular business, getting stuff done. I have Baltimore Township tonight and Johnstown Township tomorrow, and volleyball and practice and volleyball. And we also had Charlton Park meeting last night. I think it was the fastest I've ever gotten out of Charlton Park. So it doesn't happen very often. I could get lost there for days. I love that place. So that being said, I'm looking forward to the rest of my meeting cycle and harvest. So Commissioner Connor.
Thank you. I attended the Orangeville Township meeting and the airport board. I did attend last week as the employer delegate for the MERS annual meeting and their breakout sessions that they have during their conference. So I attended 3 breakout sessions on the defined benefit program, everything from A to B. Why have it? How to use it? How employees, should use it? When getting ready for retirement, what's coming down in the future? I also attended one on defined contribution. So I did have a booklet. I didn't bring it with me today, and I've asked MERS to send 6 more regarding just unfunded liability and how to deal with that. So when I get them, I'll give each one of you one. But that was a very good presentation, and I'm not going to get into it right now with it, but
Have you come up with a reason we don't have to pay for it?
unfunded liability? No, I did not. So, but it was a very good conference. So that's all I've got.
Thank you, ma'am. Commissioner Geiger.
First of all, thank you to the board for helping honor Chief Coster. I know it's a little out of order, but it is, the people in Nashville appreciate it. I went to the White House last Thursday. I appreciate the board letting me travel down there. Heard from a lot of cabinet secretaries. There were commissioners from Michigan, Ohio, and Kentucky, all wearing red ties, seemingly. It was hard to tell us apart until people spoke. We heard from a lot of different cabinet officials, including Secretary DeVos, and had the opportunity to ask questions on what's the federal government doing to help. A lot of the Kentucky and Ohio commissioners had questions regarding to water and for infrastructure. I asked a question regarding housing. First of all, I told myself, all right, I'm down here, I'm going to ask a question. So I asked the HUD official, what is the federal government doing to replace our housing stock and make it affordable for millennial families? Because right now, younger families can't afford a new home, and realtors are telling us we don't have any open lots in Berry County, and they can sell an affordable family home within like an hour. So I said, I know what HUD is doing for lower income people, but what are we doing to help families that aren't in that situation? And they said, well, we don't have a good answer for you, but we really need to get creative, and we would love to work with you. So I'm going to take them up on that offer. And that's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Gibson.
Well, the transit project is still on schedule. They tarmacked the driveway and the parking lot last week. They're presently working on the front offices, remodeling those. And we have another construction meeting this Thursday. And I'll be at Hastings Township tonight for a meeting. That's all I have.
I thought they met on Mondays. Oh, no, city meets too. Okay. Commissioner Smoker.
I have nothing to report. My meetings start in the second week of the month. So.
Thank you, sir. And Commissioner Parker's not sunburnt, but I think he could let us know how his vacation went.
My left arm is more sunburned than the other one. Driving a lot. Got a Village of Middleville meeting tonight, going to the SMART meeting tomorrow in Van Buren County. And my cycle is starting too, so I will report something next week.
Thank you, sir. Limited public comment. At this time, any member of the public wishing to address the board may do so for up to 3 minutes.
Good morning. Don Haney, Administrator, Thornapple Manor. First, I'd just like to thank commissioners for your time and your diligence in filling our vacant board position. They do offer us a tremendous amount of guidance and direction, and we wouldn't be the facility we are without a good board, so I appreciate that. And then the other thing I just wanted to share, last week, Newsweek rated the nursing homes in the state of Michigan. There's about 450 nursing homes in Michigan. Thornapple Manor came out at number 16. I would also like to admit or acknowledge the fact that the top 3 facilities were fellow county-owned facilities, medical care facilities, and there was another one at number 8. So 5 of the top 16 were county-owned medical care facilities. So very fortunate to be here in Berry County and to work with you as a county commission and with our public, and most importantly with a great team out at Thornapple Manor. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Hearing none, is there any other business to come before the board? There being no further business and without objection, the board will now